So if I ask you, how many know about the word sustainability? Raise your hand. That's really good. How many people actually understand what it means? Yeah, still some do. How many people understand or think it's just a buzzword with just little substance? No one? Yeah? Good. I'm going to try to, I'm no expert, I'm going to disclaim myself. Ended up working with this because I want to contribute to our society and have an impact. I'm going to share my reflections. I'm going to think out loud, almost like talking to myself, but with the speaker. So join me in, and I hope I can somehow inspire you, awake, and trigger some feelings. And so saying demystifying sustainability, because it's become such a big word. Everyone's talking about sustainability, such as we're talking about innovation, right? Everyone's talking about technology, innovation, sustainability, but what does it actually mean? And when we use that word, that is good in one sense, because it unifies. When I say sustainability, then a lot of people can understand the same thing. But what is also not on the good side is when I say sustainability, it can mean several things to different people. So what I think I'm saying, I may not be saying to you, and if I want to convey one message to you, I may be conveying something else to you. And so it's complex, it's difficult to understand, and it's a word that gathers but also splits people, and which is not how it should be. Yeah, so for me it started about 3 years ago. No background within working with sustainable development, but I've learned a couple of things. And do you know who this lady is? Yes? Yeah? So this is Gro Harlem Brundtland. She's the pioneer of sustainability. There's probably some people before her, but she's was part of a commission that started working on sustainable development back in the 80s. Sustainability has sort of risen up now, but it's not anything new, even though we think it's new. And they created sort of the first report talking about sustainable development and how we're going to move forward with the society, because the structure that we have, the development that capitalism and economic focus has given us, is not a model that's going to keep us moving forward in a path that we should. And so she put sort of the layers, and she's been working for the last 30 years. But then this meeting happened in 2015. 196 countries met at the UN, where they all agreed to adopt a certain goals. Have you heard about the Sustainable Development Goals? Yes or no? Yes. Thank you. And so these 17 goals were put up as sort of a guide or common roadmap. And so it's broad. Often I feel like sustainability is sort of conquered by people thinking, oh, it's only environment, which it is, but it's also all the other. It ranges from poverty to energy, consumption to production, health to education, and hence it's complex. But I feel that also when you're looking at this, now as it's become so important to talk about sustainability, people can sort of tend to pick what they want to focus on, or say that if you're a business, I work in business, so I hear a lot of business corporates saying, oh, we're working with reducing inequalities. Like as if you could just go into a grocery store and pick an SDG, which it's not, because they're all intertwined. If you're going to have no poverty, you need education, you need health, and so they're very interlinked. And so a model that I like more is sort of this, where you have a systemic view, because we're not going to have any economic growth if there's no planet to do business on. We're not going to have, I believe that, you know, we talk about finance and you have all of that, but I think in time, water is going to be a commodity. That's what we're going to be trading, right? And we're very lucky in Norway to have that on tap. And we're not feeling it yet, but other places they do. And so with this basis, the other comes. But they're all linked, and how we are going to focus and how with the shift we need with sustainability is a perspective that doesn't only think about profit, because only financial profit is not the old profit you have. It's a consideration of economical aspects, social aspects, and environmental aspects. It's not the other or the other one, but it's the three of them. For every decision that's made, you have to think of those three aspects. And so doing business and what you're making profit of are normally the ones that is on the baseline, on the environmental aspect. So it all hangs together. It's complex, but I'm trying to give it a start. And so, yeah, one thing I mentioned, it's 17 goals. They're very broad. And so below them, there's 169 indicators, where they again have 203 targets. So it's very specific, and it's sort of our common roadmap where everyone's sort of shipped in. And as we say in Norwegian, an ambitious dugnad for everyone. But then I tried, or throughout the years, I've started to think, why do those that have the most do the least? I've been very fortunate through Young Sustainable Impact to work with young people from all around the world. We've been lucky to interact with people from 178 countries, which is almost all around the world. And I see so much engagement, I see so much happening in all the other places, in sort of developing areas. While here, you saw now that a report where it said that in order to achieve these goals, we need an investment of 2.4 trillion US dollars every year. The capital that we have in total assets around the world are 290 trillion, which is growing 5% every year. And so what that means is that there is money so that we can achieve the goals. But where is it going? And a couple of months ago, or a week or whatever, we saw that $700 million was raised by a few French businessmen for the uprising on Notre Dame. And I'm not saying that that's not important, but how is that possible that during a couple of days that's achieved when we're talking about what's going to make us prosper, not benefit the few, but everyone? I'm just thinking out loud and thinking about this. And the second point when it comes to this is, as was mentioned, in YSI we create impact startups. We take in individual people that wants and has a desire to create a sustainable business where you start a business around solving a challenge. This year we broke record with 12,500 applications from 178 countries. We started in Norway, we live in Norway. You know how many from Norway applied? 10. The last 3 years, people have asked me, why are there no Norwegians? You guys are from here. I don't really know. Where is the engagement? And I believe, you know, I see young, engaged people in Norway more as the minority than the majority. Are we that comfortable that we're not seeking the opportunities to do something? And of course, entrepreneurship, starting a business is not for everyone. But it's more than 10 people. We live here, growing up, you know, you have all the possibilities haggling up. When you go to school, you have career days, you know, 50 people, businesses coming to say, choose me, choose you. Well, in Asia, when we have, normally we've had #1 countries that are applying, Pakistan, India, Nigeria, they're on the alert. They're finding us through opportunity web pages because they have alerts on what opportunities that are coming up. And that kind of eagerness, I'm really not seeing in the West and in Europe. Not yet. I don't know if it's because we haven't felt and been that aware, because we've sort of been comforted in and haven't had to thought about, you know, our physiological needs and can only think about, you know, how are we going to develop ourselves. But it's coming. More and more youth are engaged. But I would love to see more. I would love to see more young people there. Because it's not a race that only young people in one part of the world is going to fix it for the rest of us. Yeah. And so from my frustration, I really believe that youth is a driving force in this. We have the largest population of youth ever in history, 1.8 billion young people. India is the country with the largest amount of young people, where more than half of their population is below 35. Just think about the power you have as a young person to change the game when half of the population are young people. I often feel that when working with business, I'm often at conferences to talk, and I'm normally the only young person amongst 500, 600 people. And I say, here you are talking about my future and long-term decisions that you're not going to be a part of, and the young people are not even invited at the table to make decisions. We're not included in the dialogue, or we're included in the process, but normally in the end when we don't have anything to say. And so, really believe that young people we have the naivety, we have the drive, and they have the force. But I also think that the magic happens when it's in collaboration with the people that has experience. Because yes, we believe we have the drive, we have the passion, but we don't have the experiences. But when you match that up with the experience that is there, we can do a lot of things, and we can do it quickly. And it's said that if we're going to reach the goals that I showed earlier, that's not going to happen. But it is sort of, I read that in a report, and there was a small, the small stars that normally arises in a report saying, it is achievable if it's taken extraordinary action. Which means that there's still a slot there for us to do something. And so we see that young people are working all around the world. There are forerunners. Hans talked about Greta. She started by herself. It all starts with the small actions. It started on the Fridays out of the Swedish parliament. You have Alexander in the US, the youngest politician. We see young people all around. You have in Saudi Arabia the youth minister being 22 years old. You have Mark Zuckerberg at 18 started something magnificent, connecting people throughout the world. It has done a lot of different things, but it's also enabled a lot of things to happen quickly. You have Boyan Slat starting the biggest ocean cleanup project in the world. And so there are people that are doing theirs. You have my group of people that started Young Sustainable Impact just because they'd seen the Paris conference in 2015. They said, we're meeting up to talk. Where's the action? We want to start something. So we started off meeting up after school, and now we're an organization where people are working full-time, global organizations with offices in Asia, and really trying to do ours. Which also started as just a small conversation, a message on Facebook. So it is possible. There are people working, but then also it's big. I'm talking about sustainable development. We don't see everything. The power of I, because people often feel, oh, what is my effort going to mean in this big picture, right? If I compost here, it's not going to. What about the big players that are polluting everything? Well, everyone has to do theirs. It's not government that's going to fix everything. It's not business. It's not civil society. Everyone has to figure out how I can contribute in what I'm doing, where I am. It could be on a personal level. It could be how you act when you're in your home, or the choices you do, the things you support, the power you have as a consumer supplying demand, but also throughout your work. When I go to work every day, what can I do to contribute? And so there are a lot of different ways. Hans actually told me about something called Restart, which is sort of a fixing party, where people bring in technology. It might be iPhones, toasters, everything that doesn't work, and you meet up to fix it. There's volunteers there to help you out, and that's because electronic waste is one of the fastest growing issues around the world. And so instead of despairing, they want to repair, and to meet up there, it's a very easy thing. So one step before you change your iPhone, you can please go and try to fix it for once. Or it's in our homes, very easy. What kind of light bulbs do we use? What kind of vehicles do we use? Do we electric or not? When you're traveling, could I take the train, or do I really have to take the flight? Because the difference is big. I wasn't sort of the environmental activist, don't get me wrong, but as I'm moving now, there's starting to become also very many tools so that we can see how much, I was going to Bergen, and then NSB, they have a calculator, and I just said, my trip to Bergen now, what's the difference between taking the flight and the train? And it was huge. And so I took a conscious choice of taking the train instead of the flight. And it's okay, we have to fly, and then we have to fly, and there has to come a technology where there come electrical flights, it comes low using energy flights, but until we get there, we also have to use the alternatives we have. Yeah. And so I want to ask you guys, in 10 years' time, when you get the question, what did you do to contribute to these challenges that we were seeing 10 years back when we actually had a possibility to fix this? Were you the person, are you going to be the person that answered, I actually rose up, I contributed, and I acted? Or are you going to be like the person that, I don't really care, I didn't do anything more than what I had to? You probably understood what my answer would have been after this talk, but I hope you can think. And I think before ending up, I want everyone to rise up. Take a picture of this screen. Everyone seeing? And this is my challenge to you guys, that normally when I say this to corporates, they always have a Monday meeting or a Friday meeting. So I say, take this up there. But you're going to leave from here. It's weekend. We are free to think. Think about what actions you can take in your everyday life to contribute to the sustainable development. How can you contribute to your professional work or career to this? Everyone has their ways. Do something. Thank you.